Hi everyone, my name is Adam and welcome to another episode of Warees Halal Limited's On The Go Learning. I'm here today to seek a quick advice on the system requirements for the Muis Halal Certification, which is the adoption of the Singapore Halal Quality Management System, also known as the HalMQ system. Are you interested to know as well? Come, follow me to learn about the 10 principles and the document requirements for the Singapore HalMQ system. Hi ma'am, my name is Adam and I have an inquiry. My company would like to apply for the Muis Halal Certification, and I understand that one of the biggest requirements is to develop the Singapore Halal Quality Management System, and that there are some documents that I need to prepare for this. I'm not too familiar with the steps and terminology, so I was wondering if it's possible for you to give me a crash course on this.
Hi Adam, let me bring you to the meeting room so that I can share with you on the HalMQ system. Thank you for coming all the way to Warees Halal's office. My name is Shafika and I will first share briefly with you on the 10 principles of the Singapore Halal Quality Management System, or in short, HalMQ system, before we can go in detail on how you can develop it for your company. The 10 principles of the HalMQ system includes: establish a halal team, define product or nature of business, construct and verify flowchart, identify halal threats and its control measures, determine halal assurance point, also known as HAP, their allowable limits and prescribed practices, establish monitoring system for each HAP, establish corrective actions for each HAP, establish documentation and record-keeping system, verify the halal system, and lastly, review the halal system. Among all these principles, Principle 1 to 7 will require you to develop the documentations accordingly. Let's start off with the first principle, which is to establish a halal team. The halal team shall comprise of a halal team leader, Muslim representative, and other members from multidisciplinary background with relevant knowledge and expertise. Your company will need to prepare an appointment letter for each appointed member with their roles and responsibilities clearly stated. Ensure that the members and the management signed the appointment letters accordingly. The next principle is all about declaring the product on menu listing and the list of ingredients with suppliers' details. When declaring the products, include the brand name and product code if any, and tally them with the descriptions on the product label or artwork. For example, Sanwa Oat Nutrition Choco. As for the menu listing, ensure that it tallies with the descriptions on the menu board, menu card, or the menu published on your website. For example, chili beef burger, beef pepperoni pizza, etc. For the ingredient listing, declare as per the invoices. Take note that for meat or meat-based items, include the brand name and certifying body name. For example, ABC brand beef cube bracket Muis or chili sauce, etc. The third principle is to construct and verify the flowchart. The purpose of the flowchart is to represent the business operations and track your products from raw materials to point of sale. To do so, you will need to identify the processing steps involved. This is an example of a flowchart which is applicable to eating establishments such as stalls in hawker centers and food courts, etc. The next principle is to identify halal threats and its control measures. Using the flowchart, identify and list out all the possible halal threats and its control measures for each processing step. An example of a halal threat is the purchase of doubtful ingredients, and its control measures is to verify the halal status of the ingredients before making a purchase. The fifth principle is to determine the halal assurance point, or also known as HAP, their allowable limits and prescribed practices. HAPs are critical steps in your operation that ensures halalness of your products or menu items. An example is the purchasing step, which is the first step in ensuring that only halal verified items are being purchased by your company. Allowable limits are the degree of deviations allowed within limitation set. An example is zero tolerance for the purchase of non-halal items. Lastly, for the prescribed practices, it refers to the actions or procedure that should be carried out. For example, all ingredients are to be supported with correct supporting documents as required by the certifying body. Principle 6 is to establish monitoring system for each HAP. The monitoring system has many purposes. It is to detect and tackle problems early, ensure HAP is under control, and provide proof of due diligence. Since purchasing had been identified as a HAP in the previous example, let's continue to establish the monitoring system for this HAP. The purchaser will need to monitor by confirming the halal status of new ingredients from existing or new suppliers before he or she makes a purchase. Lastly, for Principle 7, which is to establish corrective actions for each HAP, you must develop the action plan to rectify situations that deviates from your allowable limits and prescribed practices. Using the same identified HAP in the previous example, let's continue to establish its corrective actions. If the halal threat identified during purchasing occurred at your premises, the corrective actions may include cancel order immediately, report to halal team leader, and submit an incident report. Principle 4 to 7 I have shared with you can be presented in this table. I will now share briefly on the last three principles of the HalMQ system. Principle 8 is to establish documentation and record-keeping system. You are required to keep records of your application details, training certificates, supporting documents for all ingredients, HalMQ plan, etc. in the halal file. For Principle 9, you are to verify the halal system by conducting an internal audit and checking for records and operational compliance, etc. Lastly, for Principle 10, you are to review the halal system. You need to keep the system in check and control at least once every year before the submissions of your renewal application. Do ensure that you review immediately if something goes wrong. So, these are the information that you need to know before you can kickstart with the development of the HalMQ system for your company. Do you have any other questions for me?
Thank you very much for this crash course. I really appreciate your time and effort to run through the HalMQ system with me, from the 10 principles all the way to the document requirements. It has somehow triggered my memory from a few years ago when I first attended the Halal Foundation program. Now that I have a better understanding, I should return back to my office to start working on this with my team.
Good to hear that what I've shared helps. Do allow me to show you out. Thank you for coming and have a good day ahead.